Welcome to this video where we're going to talk about managing money in the sense of how it comes and goes from your life, whether you have enough or don't, what it means if you always find yourself in these situations where you get a lot extra and then owe a lot extra. And so, if this is your first time here, welcome to my channel, Watch Your Rise. My name is Liza Lounsbury, and I am someone who manifested enough money to pay off $282,000 in debt in just 3 years when I was working 9 to 5. My husband was working 9 to 5. It was before I had this business. And I was making $52,000 a year. So it doesn't even make sense. Now, mind you, I did get another job during that time period and increased my salary, but all this happened through manifestation. And now I run my six-figure coaching business, which the basis of my coaching is manifestation, which is the process by which I help clients normalize wealth, normalize money, so that it's no longer this thing that is so stressful. It's no longer this thing you have to constantly create, chase, figure out. In my programs, that's what we handle. So today's video is coming to you because I have a client who recently just had her largest cash month. It was over $20,000. And then she messaged me because she said, "Okay, Liza, we did our regular money meeting." She said, "We've been doing these forever, and the same thing happened." And she said, "I've got to figure this out. It's driving me crazy. Why is this always happening?" And she described it as though they got this $600 ticket, kind of like a parking ticket, but it was for an easy pass. And she said, "This is completely unexpected. We are finally ahead financially, but this is going to bring us back." And so it just makes me feel like nothing I'm ever doing is working. This is never going to work out for me. I'm always going to end up with less than I need. And I just need to know why. And so we went back and forth and talked about a couple of things. But what this boils down to is actually an energetic loop. This is a pattern. And so I want to talk to you about the energy of money, the frequency of money. And so what we're going to do is we're going to actually put money in the center of this energetic loop. And in order to fully explain this, I need to share with you a little bit about my story of when we were so deep in debt, $282,000. We had two small children. Um, I was working, my husband was working, and it just felt like we were never going to be ahead. And we both had multiple degrees. I had a master's degree, he had a law degree. And why were we always behind? Why were we constantly in this hole? And I had tried Dave Ramsey and I had done the baby steps and I'd been doing them for like 6 or 7 years, but I think we'd only paid off like maybe $2,000. It was crazy. My focus at the time was how to pay off this debt. So that's something that's number one that I want us to talk about is my focus was on the debt, was where we were missing. What was that? It was focused on the problem. James Cleary James Clear in his book Atomic Habits talks about the importance of when we want to shift our patterns and our behaviors that we aim for identity-based goals so that we're not actually looking at the strategy itself. Because here's the thing that neuroscience tells us. And this is something that Tony Robbins teaches, something that a lot of great life coaches will help you understand. But at any moment, our brain is doing three things. It is choosing what to focus on, what story or meaning to put behind that, and what we're going to do about it. This is the energetics. This is our state of being. This is how we're vibrating. And this is happening whether you want it to or not. So that when you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off, your brain at that moment is deciding what to focus on. They cut you off, or they didn't hit my car. It's telling you what story that you're going to add to it, the story of what a dick, or thank God I wasn't any closer, to the other car. And then what you're going to do about it. Either I'm going to, do this and pop the bird, or I'm going to be like, thank you, God, we're all okay. Two different realities, same scenario. Which person in this scenario do you think is more likely to have an abundant life or less likely to have an abundant life with the understanding that money's one part of abundance. Abundance is our energetic frequency, it's our peace, it's our joy, it's our happiness, it's our health. It's the person that focused on what they had, not the person that focused on what they didn't have in the moment, or the problem, or the anger, added the negative story, added the negative vibration, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today, because we have the choice to perceive however we want at every moment. Our nervous system and our subconscious is doing this automatically. And so, in these situations, what I do and what I've learned to do, and that I've over this past 10 years of this personal journey that I've been on myself, and in particular, the last 4 years, I've been really focused on breaking these loops so that my knee jerk reaction benefits my life of abundance. Okay. And so, what I want to share with you is in particular to my client who just came off one of the highest revenue generating months, over $20,000, and gets this $600 ticket. And now she's spiraling. I said, "What do your thoughts say?" She said, "They say we're never going to get ahead." I say, "How does that make you feel?" And she said, "It just makes me feel, it makes my body feel very tense. I just don't feel settled." And so we talked about whether or not that's helpful. And she's like, "I know it's not. And I just don't know why I'm doing this." It's this berating negative energy that just continues. Do you see the loop? And so when I was going through this period and we were talking about the debt, paying it off, and it wasn't working, instead I started focusing on what would I be like if we no longer had the debt? How would I think? How would I feel? How would I behave? What would I be doing on a daily basis? Because I guarantee I would not be throwing myself a pity party, right? And so shifting that, it gave me power. It was like, I can choose how I want to be in this moment. This challenge exists. The difference here is that I'm not identifying with the challenge. The person in the car that got mad when the other car cut it off identified as being cut off, as that person intentionally didn't like him, wanted to piss him off, right? The person in the car that appreciated not getting in a wreck did not identify with that at all. It was someone not paying attention, and who knows, somebody could have come over in their lane and created the whole ripple effect. The point is, they're not identifying with it as though the event makes them less than. So when we shift our identity, money loses its emotional charge. This became huge in my life. And this is when manifestation started popping. And what this looked like and sounded like for me was, I knew I couldn't control how much somebody was going to pay me. I knew I couldn't control how much somebody was going to pay my husband. But what I could control is how I felt when I woke up. I felt appreciative and proud that I had a roof over my head, that I was warm, that I was safe, that my children were healthy. And it almost got obnoxious, like to the point where I started narrating in my mind nonstop all day, all the things that I saw to be appreciative, because I wanted to raise this vibration in my body where my set point was no longer focused on what I didn't have and was instead focused on what I did have. This is our emotional state of being. And actually, everyone has an emotional home. It's the thing that you go back to, it's the loop. And this can either be, and so throughout our day, when we're not in the loop, we've got a set of empowering and disempowering emotions that are going to be running through us at all times. We're an energetic being. At the bare minimum of how we function through neuroscience, we know that there is a neuron sending a signal, electricity, that creates a conduction that leads to the ability of my arm to lift up and do this. We're a big battery. And so our charge is either vibrating with positive energy or it's vibrating with negative energy. That charge comes from learned patterns. learned behaviors, stories from our past that get stored. So we can actually hijack them and change them. And this is neuroplasticity. And so when I really wanted to master manifestation, I knew I couldn't control the money. In fact, money's neutral. And it was easy for me to grasp this because I had also been sober at the time. I'd gone through sobriety. October 12th, 2000 is my sobriety date. I've been sober ever since. I'm getting ready to hit my 10th year. And so I had to learn what it meant to realize that alcohol was never my problem. Alcohol's neutral. That's why I can now go into a bar with alcohol and not be negatively affected by it because it never was the alcohol. It was the story, it was the meaning that I put behind it, and then it was the actions that I took because of it. Remember the three things at all times? We're choosing what to focus on, what story, what meaning we're going to give to it, and then what we're going to do about it. Now, the challenge here is most people want to change things here. They want the strategy to change. They want the diet, right? They want to know how to do their budget. But guess what? It's these two that matter more. And in fact, it's this one, what you're focusing on and what you're putting your energy to. So when we shift our focus and our energy, it creates a new story, it creates new meaning, and that naturally leads to different actions. Because, for example, let's say this is a really good example. It's a visual and how it really drives this home. You have someone in your life that routinely irritates you, right? And regardless of how much internal work they're doing, how much they're growing, they're changing, they still irritate you. I'm guilty of this as well. What happens when that person meets a stranger? The stranger sees nothing but an awesome person. You're standing next to them, you're watching this interaction with the stranger, and you're thinking, this person, they routinely piss me off, never pick up their shit from the floor, always leave the laundry for me, never take the trash out, squirt toothpaste all over the counter, and you think they're God? I mean, come on. The thing is, that person's focus and story are in the present moment. So the action that they take of having the engaging conversation, of seeing the positivity from this person that you're standing next to, is because they don't have the same background, the same stories, the same meanings that we do. So the take home point from here, is just a little side note, is imagine if every day with the people in your life, especially those that you love, was a new day. You didn't have the past stories. Imagine how differently you would act around them. Imagine how differently you would treat them if you didn't have their mistakes constantly replaying in your mind. If you didn't have their failures, if you didn't have their weaknesses constantly driving how you act. They're just a new person today. You don't know anything about them. Wipe the slate clean. Things will be different, right? So the goal is to get it that way with money. We want money to be neutral. Money is just a number. It either is or isn't. You either have some or you don't. But it doesn't change who you are, your worth, your capability. Maybe you need to learn some skills. Maybe you need to change some things. That's fine, but money isn't the reason. Money's a byproduct. Money's a byproduct of how you're showing up. Money is a byproduct of the energy you're putting out in the world. Money is a byproduct of the way that you feel about it. And so with manifestation, I learned to look at it differently because I changed my focus, my energy, which created new stories, which led to different actions, which manifested all this money that didn't even make fucking sense. I'm telling you, it was like it was falling out of the sky. We ended up having a tornado in all my years of living. Tornadoes don't hit South Carolina. We not only had a tornado that hit South Carolina, but it hit my town while I was at work, while my kids were at preschool, while my husband was at work. Actually, he was driving in it with a stomach bug, barely made it up to the toilet, is vomiting over the toilet as the tornado is passing our house. Didn't touch the house. Knocked down all the 200-year-old oak trees next door, which ended up getting uprooted, knocked over the oak trees in our yard, which ended up going into the neighbor's yard. The only thing it squished was our shed, which we had just put on the home insurance policy because we just had it remodeled. And so, guess what? We were fine. Everybody was fine. Nobody died in that tornado. I'm not saying that we should, hope for natural disasters, but where's the silver lining? The silver lining is that it cost $6,200 to rebuild the shed. But when the insurance company came by and did the settlement, they said, this will be about $17,800. What? Okay. Not to mention the trees when they fall in the ground. Insurance doesn't pay for tree cleanup. We had like $80,000 worth of tree cleanup. The yard where the trees fell from, they owned the grading company in town. That was their rental property. It was a duplex. So they said, don't worry about the trees. We're going to get all that up for you. Okay. Appreciation, gratitude, right? I saw the situation for, I'm so grateful that no one died. I wasn't like, holy shit, how are we going to pay for this stuff? Because instead, I was shifting my frequency. I was shifting my beliefs. I was shifting my trust. And this was changing how I felt. And it was leading to different actions. And this became a thing. And now here I am. It's something I'm still working on today. But I'm telling you, there will be nothing that there's no time wasted in learning how to live with appreciation and learning how to neutralize money and manage your money from a state of, I have enough. I'm fed, I'm clothed, I have a roof over my head. So we talked about the three things that our brain is constantly doing: choosing what to focus on, energy, adding the story or meaning behind it, and this leads to the actions that we take. So when we are seeing ourselves come up with these loops, and I put money in the middle of this one. So let's say money is the loop that's going on, meaning you've done some mindset work around it. This client of mine, she's done some excellent work. She's um, gone back to some trauma events, rewritten them. She's done some inner child stuff. She's done therapy. She's doing so well. All the things she's doing are remarkably well. And she continues to grow. And I'm so thankful that she brought this to me so that we can break it down. Because here's what's happening. So she's doing better with money. She's manifesting larger and larger amounts of money. And she's seeing this large payment that came in unexpected in the mail, $600. The loop is because anytime there's something that creates discomfort in our life and it comes back around, I want us to lean in with curiosity and go, what is this trying to teach me? This person is triggering me nonstop. This animal's annoying me. This news anchor or this story that I heard in the, like it's something that is coming back. This 10 pounds, I keep losing and gaining it again. This friend, I feel like we reconcile stuff. We go out on a coffee date, and then she ghosts me for 3 weeks. And then she wants to hang out again. And then I find out she said something about me. And then she wants to. Why is this happening over and over again? What is this trying to teach me? Money, in this sense, when we have the loop, it's because our soul is ready to grow. This is highlighting for us an area that we have misidentified our source of joy, enlightenment, peace, love, success, relief, abundance. We've misaligned our source with money. What is our source of anything and everything? What is our source? How do we get love? Do you know? How do we get peace? How do we get relief? How do we get success? Is it the job title? Is it the healthy marriage? Is it winning the lottery? No, it comes from within, all here. Anything that we have is because we've decided to have it. Because everything at all times is available to us in the universe, in the world. God created us in his image. So our source of everything doesn't come from anything external. The world can come and go. Think about Jesus's life. Good things happen, bad things happen, but he stayed here, spreading light, spreading love, spreading joy, trusting in God, trusting in the good. It's not that bad things won't happen, they will. We can experience them, vibrate them, allow them to go through, and we can live a good life. We can have something shitty happen to us, and we can have a good day. We can have a shit ton of debt and live in gratitude and abundance. Do you see that? What happens is when we attach our source of any emotion, the problem here is if money is an issue, like I'll never have enough, it's because you're thinking, I can't feel successful or abundant or peaceful until I have enough money. And what's enough? 10 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand? What's enough? Because when we have these emotions assigned to external circumstances, I can't feel successful until I'm promoted. I can't feel loved until my husband tells me. Then we are at the mercy of something external. And we live like this. So when money is high, we're happy. When money's low, we're sad. And so we end up on this roller coaster. Oh, it's good. When it's good, I'm good. When it's not good, I'm not good. That's not that's not peace. That's not life. That's not joy. That is not emotional intelligence. That is letting the source of your emotion exist outside of you. And so we have to break that loop. We have to break that pattern. And so what's happening is this is highlighting an area for your soul to evolve. There's a part of you that needs to grow. Your identity needs to shift, especially if you're wanting to grow your business. Because if you're wanting to grow your business, because then you'll feel successful, you'll never get there. You'll be like this. And what's going to happen is while money continues to be the energetic loop, you're going to be tested. You're going to have a large tax bill come in, and you're going to say, damn it, that goes all of my savings. You're going to have something break at home. You're going to have an unexpected bill, and you're going to say, no matter what I try, I always owe more money. Your rent's going to go up. See, there's never enough. And so this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Regardless if when these things are happening, you're earning more money, you've paid off your debt, you can be debt free. But if you are still associating your emotional state with an object other than you, other than your source, which is God or the universe, you will constantly be on a roller coaster. And so, how do we break this? How do we break this? Well, there's a couple of ways, and actually, I have an entire course. It's my Sacred Healing course. It's 8 weeks. It comes with coaching. If this is something you want to help with, if there's any loops that you have, I'd love to help you through that. So this is just the quick and dirty, but there's a lot more that goes into this. For example, recognizing that it's a loop is one, and then number two, realizing that this is an identity that's no longer serving you, and then figuring out what that identity is. Is there an identity that we need to shift here? We need to reattach our emotional state with what this source actually is, not an object. Are there things that you're saying yes to that no longer serve you? Are there things that you're saying no to that if you said yes to would benefit you? There's this whole list of things that we can go through. But basically, until you address them, this loop will continue. And the loop you can extend this time and space between it, but it'll still show up until you evolve, until you neutralize the thing that's in the middle and reconnect your energy with the source, which is God in the universe. So when we talk about managing money, I couldn't control how much somebody decided to pay me or if I got a bonus, or I had no idea a tornado was coming, and who knew what the insurance adjuster was going to come up with, right? What I could control was my energetic state. So that became the work. And so every day became, what's something that I can do to stay in the frequency of appreciation and gratitude? And when I'm not, realizing something's causing this and questioning, getting curious. What is the lesson here? So, if managing money, if the money management meetings are something that are really stressful for you, if they're currently triggering, if you're stuck in these energetic loops, one of the first questions that I would ask is, have you expressed your need? Is there anyone else that can help you with this in your life, a partner, a spouse, so that you can maybe hand it off while you do the work on energetically shifting how you show up to these meetings? Because, for example, like when I was getting sober, I didn't jump right into events. I didn't jump right into girls' night out. I didn't go to bars. I had to change my environment in a way to allow my identity to grow and shift. Now, that might not be an option for you. There might not be anyone else that can do this. My first question would be, is that a control or a trust issue? Because if it's a trust thing, we could look at this from an energetic loop. But the other thing is manifestation. So when there were things that I had to do, for example, my first flight after I got sober, I knew that I was going to be flying an airplane, but I couldn't take anything that would help take the edge off. I was raw dogging an airplane. And manifestation is what allowed me to do that and do it peacefully. And so use the 5 steps of manifestation here to help you shift your state, add new meaning and a story behind it, because our brain doesn't know the difference in what's right in front of us right now and what we imagine with our eyes closed. It treats them the same. So our imagination is our fourth dimension. That's how we manifest. And so if you've got something like a money management meeting, you have to lead it, you have to be the one that does it. Let's manifest it. That means that you sit down, decide, what do you desire? Do you desire it to be peaceful? Do you desire the numbers to be neutral? Because this is the way that it will eventually get. So for example, if I'm just going to use this as, let's say my husband and I are working on 100K per kid to a savings account. Okay. So when we sit down and we look at the numbers, we either are at that number or not. And let's say we want to put $5,000 per month to the 100K. Okay. And when we sit down, let's say we don't have the $5,000 per month. That is simply an okay for me. That's it. Okay. It's either going to prolong the date or shorten the date. Same thing happened when we were paying off the debt. If we had 100,000 in debt and the goal was to pay $5,000 towards the debt, we either had the $5,000 to pay towards the debt or we didn't. That was it. Either we did or we didn't. Yes or no. And as money grows and as your expenses grow, as your income grows, your expenses naturally grow. I'm not saying you want that to happen, but that just because of your influence responsibility, that's just how life works. And so neutralizing this makes it really easy. You're either hitting your goal or you're not. But that doesn't mean you are winning or failing, that you are a winner or a loser. And so manifesting it is, what do you desire? What do you want this meeting to be like? I want for you for it to be empowering. I want it to be informative. I want it to be something where you get to have fun with it, where you and your husband are connecting, where if it's not at the number, it just isn't at the number, but you still are in love and capable and have the ability. And so you find, what do you want that to look like for you? You come up with that. Then you close your eyes. You see it happening. You see in your mind where you are, your husband, what's going on. You can hear, like maybe you're playing some music, you feel it, you feel the connection, you smell, maybe dinner's cooking, maybe you're at a restaurant, you hear, like all these things. You want your senses embedded because that's how you're going to activate it into reality so that your imagination's like, oh, we've been here before. So that when you come to your next money management meeting, your brain has a new memory of how they run. Now, this doesn't happen once. You don't manifest it once and then boom, it just becomes magic. But this becomes a daily thing for you. Before you go to bed, manifest your money management meetings. What do you want them to look like, feel like, sound like, be like? Where are you? What's happening? What's being said? Manifest that. So that the next time you come, your body is operating off a new energetic frequency. This is what allowed me to fly with zero issues. It was fucking weird. I was like, ain't no thing. After years of needing, Xanax, wine, liquor, but like getting bombed. I was so bombed on our honeymoon. That's such an embarrassing story. But I just sat there. It was fine. All because of manifestation. So never underestimate the power of manifestation. Not to mention, we got to break these loops. So that when manifestation becomes hard, like if you can't see it, you can't feel it, you can't vision it, you don't know what you desire, that's a loop. Okay. If when you're manifesting, the outcomes aren't, life is not mirroring what you're manifesting, it's because what's inside is not matching what's outside. But it always starts within. Think about it. When you look in a mirror, the image that you see comes from you. If you want to see a smile in the mirror, you got to make the smile. Then it will reflect back to you. At the basis of this, my question to you would be, do you have to be the one managing the money right now? Or is this something you can come up with where you say, here's our set limits. This is where I want us to be. Can you keep me informed? Tell me what I need to bring in income wise, and I will keep you updated on my numbers. Tell me what you need from me, but I need to hand this off. I need to hand this to you while I heal. And so you've got to shift your story and shift your state. Okay. Neutralizing. And there's a whole process we can get into this. I've also got my cash flow mindset course. I've got my stop spiraling course. I've got all kinds of things. If any of this touches on something you're working on, if any of that resonates with you, reach out and chat, and I'll be glad to help you overcome these things because no one needs to stay in this stressful place of, I never have enough money. All right. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What landed? Is there anything new that you heard today that you've never heard before? What are you going to take with you? And if you think someone would benefit from this, do me a favor and share. And please like and subscribe so that other people can get this information too. Take care.